Well, Bards, did you enjoy our bye?
The bye was nice. We managed to go up a spot in the ladder and then go back down again.
And did you enjoy the time off?
The time off was nice and relaxing, not having to do the long hours in front of the microphone.
Well, let's get straight back into it. We better get back in the hang of these things. And we must remind people there's no wetters. There'll be no wetters whack until he gets back. He's probably been to the Chapel of Love, seen the Elvis Minister in the meantime, and moved on to see some Chinook salmon in Canada.
He's living the good life in New York City and Montreal. He's going to the Just for Laugh clubs. He might pick up a few tips. He might be funny when he gets back.
Well, it was funny enough that he put his nearest to the pin in 2 weeks ahead of time.
Yeah, no, he's a thinker. He might be back earlier than he thought. Maybe he didn't realise there was a split round.
Oh, well, we'll see. Now, scores. And I won't speed up the recording of it this time, because it was a score worth listening to.
Okay, the scores were Adelaide 14-8-92, defeated by the Mighty Hawks 15-14, 104.
And goal kickers.
Goal kickers at Gunston with 4, Brewst with 3, Segler 2, McEvoy 2, Simpkin 2, Burgoyne and Duray 1 apiece.
Were you sure it was 4 for Gunston?
Well, what are you alluding to?
Well, I would have thought it was a bloke called Boo that kicked 4.
Yes, not happy with the young man leaving them, were they?
No. And I reckon it was a bit stiff because they started early on in the first quarter booing Poppy as well.
He never played for him, he's just from there.
They're a tough audience.
Well, they are indeed, mate. What are they, the 19th man or whatever they call themselves? Or they might need to get a 20th because we took care of them.
Yeah, we certainly did. Now, I'm interested in your Bardslow votes.
Yeah, it was an interesting match, this. I've gone with 5 to Gunston. I thought his game was great. Really set the game up early on and probably could have kicked a few more late, but we'll take that game every day. 4 to Mitchell, 3 to Birchall in a very welcome return to form. He was great. 2 to the old man, Lukey Hodge, and I'll give him 1 to Jonathan Simpkin, who probably played his best game for the club.
He certainly did. And it was ironic that I actually used his photo to put onto the thumbnail for the video last time. I was very impressed by that.
That's been thinking it, mate. And look, and the other bloke who's stiff is Johnny Segler. Another great game from him. Topped our scoring in the Supercoach with 13 possessions and 19 hit-outs against a good opponent in Jacob. So, yeah, between McEvoy and Segler, 4 goals, we'll take that over the output that we'll get in from David.
John Segler and Ben McEvoy. That was a superb combination, wasn't it?
Yeah, good to see you coming around on McEvoy.
Oh, good to see you coming around on Segler.
We'll go with them both.
Now, how good is Sam Mitchell?
Yeah, look, second game back and they just slotted in nicely. You know, you didn't have the ridiculous numbers of Dangerfield and a couple of these blokes who we just let do what they like because they weren't really hurting us. But 28 possessions, great performance from the little master. 28
effective possessions generally, isn't it?
Yeah, well, 86%. I mean, he's had 16 handballs, but he creates with his handballs too. You don't often see Mitchell getting a 1-2. If he's had a handball, he's put someone in good space most of the time, so just uses it so well. A few contested in there as well. Also laid 8 tackles. That's a great game. Just slotted in nicely, and he's very good to have back.
The game was a bit of a shootout, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. We let Big Jenkin off the chain there in the third quarter, and he was kicking goals with ease, and I was a bit worried at that stage, but we just seemed to have an answer all the time.
Well, I think you and Wetters picked that Jenkin was going to be a problem for us.
Yeah, Wetters especially mentioned that. Probably just that one tall we were going to struggle to cover. I think I mentioned Posy Ardley, and Wetters seemed to think he was going to play back, but he did go forward and kick a couple as well. So, but look, they're midfielders. You know, they had 3 blokes there get big possession numbers, and they're good footballers, but they hurt us a bit, I guess. But look, I mean, for a 41 possession game, no way did Dangerfield kill us. maybe he doesn't get forward enough or something. He just didn't seem as dangerous as what he has been in the past, so we'll take that.
Now, Smith was better, but we're obviously missing his mate on the other wing, Hill, aren't we?
Yeah, that run's going to be important. Hopefully we get him back for this week. His run, it makes life easier for Smith as well, I think, because it gives that second option, so he's not always having to go because the ball could be going the other way. So he'll be welcome back in the team when he's back, that's for sure.
The back line, I thought, held up well. I mean, they did have to take Shuey off Podsiadlis. Psychologically they had to do that. They put the big Spanger man on there. But, I wrote down here, Litherland, excellent again. Duray, he's lifting. Spanger goes without saying. Shuey and Birch.
Yeah, look, they're all good, and Shuey had a great game overall. We know that his forte doesn't look like it's ever going to get to be great in those one-on-ones, but especially as a rebound defender, he had 15 kicks at 83% coming out of the back line, and that was pretty important. He uses the ball well when he doesn't panic. So, if you get the ball into his hands with a bit of time, he can be quite useful. So I think they'll keep working on him. I think he's still a player.
And one person in the back line I haven't mentioned, and would you change your view after the discussion we had last game, was Suckling.
So I thought Suckling had a return to form, Grant, to be honest. I think he was much more useful than he has been. He had 20-odd possessions, used it fairly well. So I'd like to see him be a bit more of an attacking threat, get on the end of some goals, but other than that, I thought he was all right.
Now, finally, I'm going to bring to an end this whole debate over Bruce and his approach to going for goal. And you know what, Bards, I found myself, up until the time he kicked that point, which ironically is probably the easiest one, he should have kicked the goal and got the record, I found myself during the game arguing in favour of your position, which before I was sort of saying, I think he's changed his game style. Are you over it? And you glad he missed?
I am. I've actually started coming around the other way. I think it might have been playing on his mind a little bit. Just hearing a couple of the interviews with some of the other players, I thought maybe there was a little bit there for him. And it's good it's out the way. I think he wanted to do a tubby. Tubby declared himself on 3:34 at level with the Don, and Brewsty was happy to be level with Plugger.
Nah, see, I don't see that being happy to be level with Plugger thing.
No.
Because I reckon it was Coventry who looked down and said, I don't want that Dunstall bloke kicking more goals than I did. I want that Lockett bloke. He seems more my type of guy. And Dunny was done over with a couple of knees. Well, yeah. So,
That is true, but just on Dunny, changing subject a little bit, became a legend of the Hawthorn Football Club on Saturday night, and that was very well deserved, wasn't it?
Most definitely. Dunny has contributed in many ways, both on and off the field, hasn't he? And you can accredit some of our current success to Dunstall, and clearly you could credit a lot of our previous long success to Dunstall in part as well, can't you?
That's it. And if you want to hear the mother of all stitch-ups, get yourself online and listen to John Kennedy Jr.'s speech introducing Dunstall as a legend. Stitch him up left, right and centre. It's on the Hawks website. Check it out. There's a few speeches from the night, including Dunstall's, and they're well worth listening to.
Now, is there a blast? Or is it a buy-free blast?
No, mate, no blast this week. We haven't played, so I haven't got too much to be angry about.
And Tonk of the week. We took a poll, and Bruce won.
Surprising.
Now, Tonk of the week, well, you reckon it was Ray Chamberlain. And let's remind everybody of that incident.
Hawthorn with one little chance. Mitchell twisting and turning. Oh, Bruce. Time. Gee, the siren, right? I haven't heard of it, did you?
No, I didn't hear it, but the umpire did.
I don't think it's gone, Ray.
Holy jeez.
Have you heard it? I don't think it's gone, Ray.
Yes. Ray thought he heard, what was it, the retarded chime? in his ear and blew the siren as Brewsty was on his way in to break the record. Blew his whistle for the siren, and when the other umpire said, I don't think it went, Ray, holy jeez. Not very good from Ray, was it?
No, not at all. And, I mean, I put a post up that I took down later on. In fact, I put that post on most of the Hawthorn sites, which was Ray should be crucified for that. But at the end of the day, I took it down because there we were the week before saying that the media had actually crucified Brian Lake, and I thought it was only wrong that people do make mistakes, and we probably shouldn't go around crucifying little Ray. It'll be bad enough for him over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, look, if he thought he heard the noise, he's probably got something to say. You know, if that's the case, then obviously, though, I think in the end they decided the chime hadn't gone off because the other umpires didn't hear it. So he got a little bit ahead of himself. Yeah,
and look, as Clarko said, at the end of the day, it was unlikely Bruce was going to kick a goal within the time frame left anyway.
Yeah.
And was it a game changer? We won by 2 goals. But, you know, as the media always say, there is going to be that case in the grand final where it happens.
Yeah, it's the nature of our game. You know, when he did that and there's time running off the clock in basketball, for example, they'll actually go back and see what the time on the clock was and rewind and start again, which obviously our game doesn't allow for that sort of thing. So look, I don't have a problem with the umpires have something to tell them that the siren's gone, but I think that can be a backup. You know, if there's been a second or so and the siren's gone, the umpires haven't signalled it, then they could trigger something for them to hear them to make up for it. But if they're going to try to anticipate it like that, it's a bit silly.
And clearly, for that particular round, Tonk of the Week was BT. Now, Bards.
Yes, Grant?
From the back line.
Yeah, I've done my homework.
You got the rules in place? Can we just clarify what you worked to?
Now, I had to use players that have played less than 20 games in about the last 20 or so years. Adam wanted it so we all remember the names, and basically wanted one of the worst teams I could put together.
And is this where I'm going to struggle to find photos?
Yeah, you may do, and I was going to try to help you out with a few. I reckon we can get half of them anyway with photos, but we'll see how we go.
Hit us up from the back line.
Look, just to clarify, there's probably a couple of players here that have come from other clubs where they may have been all right footballers, but at our club they definitely weren't, so they're in the mix. So from the back line we have Matthew Dent, Nathan Chapman and Randall Bone. The half back line's a killer. Billy Nichols, Mitch Thorpe and Barry Young.
Wedders will be happy.
I've slotted Mitch Thorpe in a centre-half back because he didn't play anywhere else anyway, so we may as well pretend he was a backman. That's what we should have drafted with that pick.
Hey, the thing about Mitch Thorpe is he would have told everyone he could have played the whole ground.
Yeah, that is so true. And when he goes to Tassie, he pretty much does. Speaking of early draft picks, the first wingman's a bloke by the name of Luke Brennan, who was going to be everything and was nothing. A bloke who's a very good VFL footballer but couldn't make the grade, Matthew Ball. And a bloke you might remember come across from Perth a couple of years ago and he had arms the size of Hulk Hogan's but couldn't kick a footy, Jared Kaler-Thompson.
Yeah, you reminded me of him in another squad that you've picked. But some of these blokes I've got photos of from previous attempts.
Very good. All right, so I'll keep moving. The half-forward line. Ricky Nixon, Bo Dowler and Austin McCrabb. There's a powerful lot there, isn't it?
Oh.
The forward line, Scott Crowe, Dominic Berry and James's cousin Matthew Little. That's little Jimmy Hurd's cousin who promised the world and delivered little.
How many games did Matthew Little play?
Little, I think, played the one game, and from memory it was in Tasmania. He may have kicked a goal. Very good VFL footballer. The ruck division, Simon Crawshay, Brad Lloyd, another brother of, and Harry Miller.
Brad Lloyd, that's a bit rough. He was all right.
He played less than 20 games. He didn't do much in them.
It was a bad era.
Yes, it was. But he fancied himself as a bit of a fitness freak, and I think he was our runner for a little while before moving on.
I think he's at one of the 2 clubs that's in Perth.
Yeah, I believe he is, actually. And the rover, Harry Turtle Miller, I should have called him. Now, the Crawshay and the ruck seemed like a pretty obvious pick, but there was a few contending for his spot, as you'll see on the bench and in the emergencies.
Righto.
So the interchange, Brad O'Farrell, Jordan Lyle, Andrew Demetriou, and Nathan Turvey. You remember all those blokes?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Scary.
Jordan Lyle still going around with Brisbane. Another one where we drafted another key position player who couldn't get a game. Brett O'Farrell, we got down from Sydney and he was going to be the great wide hope in the ruck. No good. And Nathan Turvey, I really can't remember much about other than his name.
I think Nathan Turvey played in that game where we came back from 63 points down, but
May well have. I did not attend that game because I was playing football myself that day, but yes, I'll take your word for it. So there was one of the other ruckmen, Brett O'Farrell. Now my emergency list are David Lotes, Lawrence Bingham, Chris Obst, and Tim Allen. Remember Tim Allen we recruited from the Saints?
yeah, Tim Allen was going to be all right.
He was going to be all right.
shipped him up to Geelong.
He was no good when he come to us. And look, to be honest, there was a list of thousands that could have... actually, I've missed one out there. We need to make an amendment. I have to get the young red-headed bloke in that team, the bloke who Matthew Lloyd smashed his jaw. You know who I'm talking about, don't you?
The stick.
The stick, Josh Thurgood. Plot him in somewhere. Maybe he can take Jordan Lyle's spot, seeing he's still playing. A few other names I had. Hayden Kilmartin. Yes, who you say. Bo Muston. Probably injury hurt him, so I left him out for that reason. Who was the other one that had there? Well, Bo Nixon was another one, and Nick Stone as well. So there were some interesting names that we picked up and did very little with. It
was a bad time and was obviously interesting in the early days of recruiting for Clarko, wasn't it? He got some really big hits and some really big misses.
Yeah, the likes of Nick Stone, I think, was under Clarko's reign. Kayla Thompson, obviously.
The Bows.
Obviously Jordan Lyle on both the Bows. Yeah, so there's a few misses in there. Billy Nichols, I think, was before Clarko's time. He was around Swabby's time.
Well, that's an interesting lineup, Bards, and it'll be interesting to see if anyone can tell us of someone that you may have missed that was in consideration for that side. And it'll be interesting to see when Weathers gets the chance to listen to it, what he thinks of the side that he wanted selected.
You probably think it's a little bit too good. We haven't had many duds over the years.
That's why we're the most successful club since World War II.
Correct.
Now, Buds, do you want to do another from the back line?
Well, what's the challenge this week?
Well, it's multicultural round. So I was trying to put my hat on and say, well, can you select a side with 22 people with overseas heritage?
Oh, I could have a go at it. Might take a bit of research. I might need a couple of weeks to get their passports in order. You know,
like you could get Stephen Lawrence because he could be your token South African.
He's Miss South African.
You could get Shane Savage as your Kiwi.
Yeah, or Trent Crode maybe.
Maybe. That one I think is even longer bow. Andrew Demetrio.
Yes. Kennedy's supposed to be Italian, somewhere down the line or something.
Dipper.
John Kennedy Jr. had Dulcie mother. She was Italian, I think.
Yeah, well, Steve Malaxos.
Dominic Berry, now, I've named him at full forward in this team. He'd had to have some sort of European heritage, I would have thought.
So, we can go with that. Or it can be a bit lighter on you.
Yes, what's the other option?
Well, not so much multicultural, but how about this? You got to pick the best three from each state. And how I work this formula would be 6 states, 2 territories. We'll do a bit of the Senate cut-up. You get the best three from each state that's ever played from Hawthorn. It gets you 18.
Yep.
And then you get 2 each from the Northern Territory and from ACT on the bench.
Okay. That sounds like a bit of a challenge, but I reckon I can work with that.
I reckon your biggest challenge there is going to be the ACT. Northern Territory won't be a problem. Good luck with the ACT is all I could say. Okay, well, that's your challenge for next week.
All right, I'll accept.
Now, we better get on to game Box Hill versus Footscray, which was a ripper 2 weeks ago. Get a chance to catch that?
I did see a fair bit. I saw the second half, pretty much, and it was a bit of a slug in the wet, but yeah, there was some good play in there. Good to see Billy Hartung having a run.
Yep.
Woodward was good. The back line did a pretty good job again. Cheney just gets it done at that level. He's never going to be a star at AFL, but he gets it done down there without too much hassles. One that didn't impress me, though, I have to say, is David Hale. I mean, the conditions didn't suit, but he just couldn't get into the game, could he?
No, I agree. And ironically, Luke Loudon had a good game.
Yeah, and even Sam Grimley sort of showed a bit of form up forward again.
Yeah. And the other bloke who was a recruit from last year was James Cecily. He played a great game.
Sicily's a genuinely good footballer, and They got stuck into him too. They tried to ruffle his feathers and he gave away a couple of silly free kicks and that, but he kicked a goal afterwards and he was very happy with it, and he's going to be a player, that kid.
And I've got to say, the Box Hill listed players like Mira and Tobin, etc., they're all quality players too.
Yeah, yep. There's some good players among those guys, and it obviously makes it easy for the kids to slot in there and play good football.
Yep, so that was a good game to watch. We're on the home run here. Round is round 18, Saturday night, 26th of July, against the Sydney Swans, M2G. It's a home game for us. Get to use the seats. 7:40 starts. Butchered by Channel 7, no doubt. Nearest to the pin, we've already got Wedders. We've already got Mrs. Wedders. What do you reckon?
Yeah, well, I guess we probably need to discuss the game, but we know what we're up against, the almighty AFL Sydney Swans, with their extra 10%. So, based on that, I'm going to think that we can still beat their extra 10% and we'll win by
4!
19 points. Going to go to Gunstor, and he's going to have a field day. Look, our chance to win this game, obviously, is to work hard to get some sort of break-even in the midfield, because we know how damaging they can be in there. The backline's going to have to do a lot of work to keep their tall forwards in check, but I think our forwards can outplay their backs, and hopefully that's the case.
All right, well, I'm going to go
4!
27 points.
All right, because that gives us a bit more breathing room. All right, mate, well, go Hawks.
Go Hawks!